I love boxing. This day in boxing history, y'all. February 4th. We're going to jump right into it. February 4th, 1952, Kid Gavilan defeats by a 15-round decision Bobby Dykes in Miami, Florida. And he retains the world welterweight title. Now, the caption of the fight says, this was boxing's first racially mixed bout in Florida. Now, this is probably not the actual fact, but maybe official. This is the first racially mixed official bout in Florida, but definitely not the world, definitely not in history. But for modern era boxing standards, it's probably the truth. Now, the side notes of the fight, the newspaper influences of the time, y'all. Sometimes you look up the fights and you'll see NWS. And I looked it up, and it was real difficult finding out what the hell that meant. And I got a few definitions of what NWS means. And it means either newspaper decisions or newspaper splits. And there's probably other definitions. It might not mean either one, but that's the only thing that I can conjure up and find. And you'll see that in these older fights, when you research them, that a fighter will have a record, and then he'll have a newspaper decision record. For example, you'll see a fighter, he's 105, 10, and 4. 105 wins, 10 losses, 4 draws. But then you'll see newspaper decisions, and he'll be 3, 1, and 1. So are these apart or separate from his original record, or are these bouts that are unsanctioned, were those bouts that are just his newspaper record wins? It's crazy, because that makes you wonder, were the journalists that adept that when they were at fights that they got to judge fights accordingly? Or maybe there were no qualified judges there, or the judges ruled it a split and the newspaper got to make the decision on who won. Who knows? Maybe newspapers were bidded out to the highest buyer. Maybe if you were in your hometown, you also got a newspaper decision. That's up for more research. Another caption on the fight says that from the 20s to the 50s, many of the newspaper decisions were reported as majority decisions or unanimous decisions, when actually the bout was a split or a draw. So you got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. You just got to get primary resources. Now, the main caption up under this fight, when Gavilan beat Dykes, quote, Gavilan behind on 2 scorecards after 13 rounds, won the last 2 rounds to get the decision. Most observers thought it should have been a unanimous decision for Gavilan. Dykes down in the second for a 9 count. Dykes was the underdog, 4-1. Judge Nordarce was imported from Havana, Cuba, to help judge the fight. Miami crowd boos the verdict. In attendance, over 11,000 people. Receipts and pay, over 76 G's, y'all. 76. Over 76K in revenue. And that's big money. That's big money in any time. But I know in that era, in that time, in the 50s, shoot, after you get 76K, 76,000 bucks, you could retire. But, that goes to show how big boxing has been, even in the early 20th century here in North America. Now, the nickname Kid comes from Kid Gavilan going pro between the ages of 16 and 17. All right, so between ages of 16, 16 and a half, 17 years old, the Joker already went pro. And that's another thing in boxing history. You'll go back and look, and you'll see that a lot of fighters, such as Baby Arzamendi, I think. Anyway, they would go pro earlier than that was allowed. Or they would lie about their names, or like in Sugar Ray Robinson's case, they would get other boxers certificate licenses and in their name cards, who boxers that were licensed, and use them as their own name. That's how Sugar Ray Robinson's real name is Walker Smith Jr. But to start fighting, he used the name of a man named Ray Robinson, maybe to fight early, maybe to hide his identity for whatever reasons. Maybe he had a warrant. You just never know. But a lot of boxers of the older days would finagle around the system just to be able to get in there and fight. That's how much gumption they had. Kid Gavilan's real name was Gerardo Gonzalez. His other nickname was the Cuban Hawk. All right. He was born in 1926 in Cuba, La Viva La Cuba, baby. And he passed away in 2003 at the ripe age of 77. His stance was orthodox, and the man did his thing. His record stands as 108 wins, 28 losses, 108 wins, either 28 losses or 30 losses. I got my numbers mixed up here, but y'all go back and look, all right? Now, in 1953, he had the welterweight title. And then in 1954, he went up. He still got the welterweight title and challenged for the middleweight title. The champion at the time was Bobo Olsen. And, of course, he lost. But you see this a lot with fighters in antiquity, especially during the golden era. They would acquire titles and they were chasing greatness, chasing legacy. They would cut weight, go down in weight to try to challenge the champion at a lower weight class, or they would gain weight, try to power up, challenge themselves, and challenge a champion on not just scrubs, but decent level competition and champions at higher weight classes. And I just got to take my hats off to fighters to do that. They do it nowadays, but going up in weight nowadays could be, hell, 5 pounds with all the new weight classes in the super, junior, light, miniature, jumbo, all the new classifications they have now. But Gavilan went up from welterweight, which is 147, to middleweight, which is 160, 13-pound jump, to a guy who's probably already cutting from 170 to get down. Y'all know how it goes. Anyway, after he lost that fight to Bobo Olsen, he still retained his welterweight title, and then he lost it that same year in the 15-round decision to Johnny Saxton. Now, if you've seen some of Kid Gavilan's fights, he's a real scrappy fella. The one that sticks out is the one he had with Sugar Ray Robinson, and it just looks like two squirrels in there, or two roosters. You ever seen a cockfight? You know, the punches and shit flailing everywhere. It's wild. Both of them are quick. Both of them had a lot of energy. Now, of course, he lost to Sugar Ray, but his style-wise, he was a very scrappy guy, moved around a lot, and threw a lot of punches. Didn't have a lot of power. He didn't have a lot of knockouts out of his 108 wins. Hell, he didn't even reach 30 knockouts out of his 108 wins, but he was a real scrappy guy. Now, he had a 3-year undisputed title reign at welterweight, and that was the main highlight of his career besides fighting so many greats. Some special things about Mr. Kid Gavilan the Great, rest in peace. He appeared on Telemundo Puerto Rico, which was one of the countries in Puerto Rico's first television broadcast. Kid Gavilan appeared on that. He had one wife, one daughter, and his career was only from 1943 to 1958, y'all. So that's 15 years, from 1943 to 1958, and in those 15 years, he had 143 bouts. Y'all do the math on how many bouts that is a year. So that's just amazing for a career to be 15 years, have that many bouts. You will never see nothing like that, not in this day and era, maybe later on in the future, who knows. But we know that they had different things going on. Dudes was fighting for survival. They was fighting to get a steady check, weekly, monthly check. And, you know, fortunately, because of them, you know, boxers don't have to do that like that nowadays. Kid Gavilan was one of the few greats, y'all, who was never, ever knocked out in his whole professional career. That's another amazing fact about him. And he was inducted, and this what struck me, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame recently after he retired in 1966. And this usually doesn't happen. It usually takes dudes 10, 15, maybe 20 years after they retire. And he was inducted into the Hall of Fame just a mere 8 years after he retired. So kudos to him. Now, the man he was fighting, Bobby Dykes, a.k.a. Robert Dykstra, he's 120, 23, and 8. Out of his 120 wins, 58 were by KO. And he also has a decent resume. He fought the likes of Ralph Tiger Jones, Kid Gavilan, Sugar Ray Robinson, etc., etc., etc. And what's good to note is a lot of the people that he had on his resume had winning records, good careers, etc., etc. But unlike most greats, he finished his career with a win. All right. You'll see that, a lot of boxers, I don't know what this thing is. They keep coming back. They retire, they come back, and or they get knocked out, don't have that one loss. And a lot of people just don't rebound or end their career on a good note. Now, Mr. Dykes, he passed away at 77, same age as Gavilan. Now I'm looking at it, in 2006. He lived from 1928 to 2006. Now, I want to talk about the shape and the size and the looks of these fighters. If you look at Mr. Dykes right here, he maybe to the average eye or to the untrained eye or to just the commoner or just the passing by fan, he looks meager, may look weak. Muscles don't look tight and bulging, but that's why it's called the sweet science. And you better bet your bottom dollar that these dudes could slap a hole in your face, put some pot knots on your forehead. Now, the sweet science is all about knowing the mechanics of the body, footwork, the training, how to throw a correct punch, how to slip, how to parry, there's tons of things. The sweet science might as well be coupled with biology or physics of how technical it can be, and also how brutal it can be. It could be coupled with, just straight up savagery. But these cats in this era, they weren't lifting for bulk. They weren't juicing, at least not to my knowledge and research, and at least not in the way that we know juicing today. Now, I'm sure they had concoctions, tonics for healing and to be able to train longer and to rid of the pain from constant fighting. But it's nothing like it is today. Nothing. These boxers in the golden eras had real food, natural food. They trained long, they trained hard, and hell, they trained all year. Imagine that, having to fight between 5 and 20 times in a year. You train that many times in a year, you gotta stay sharp all year, lest you get whooped up and knocked down. Okay? Now, the boxers of the golden era, they don't look like our today's standards of quote unquote strong, but these dudes can knock you out your shoes. They didn't train to get big. They trained to get stronger. Bruce Lee talks about this a lot. Getting big doesn't necessarily equate to getting stronger. See what I'm saying? Bulk doesn't equal stronger punches. Harder muscles doesn't equal stronger punch. You don't believe me? Look it up. They say that Ali's muscle was just as soft when they did experiments with him, and I think it was Marilyn Monroe. They said his muscle, it was a doctor. They said his muscle texture and feel was just as soft as Marilyn Monroe's muscle. But his punches were fast, and by his record, you see he knocked out more than enough big, strong guys to show you that it's not really the muscle mass and bulk, but really the science of how to throw a punch, like Tim Players, and I'm sure other people in the YTBC have already brought up. Now, another thing is these cats had a better understanding as a whole, as a generation as a whole, of the sweet science. Now, I don't know, we have the B Hops and Andre Wards and the Ray Leonards of our day, but as a generation, the acumen and the knowledge of the sweet science of the golden era, the acumen and the knowledge that they had and possessed was way better as a whole than the one we have now. They train more. They're more passionate, in my opinion. They put their all into it. And for many of them, it was the only means of survival, the only means of income. Granted, it was very difficult, but for someone who loved it, they say if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. They did it wholeheartedly. They took time to learn the science and to become deeply ingrained in their art. Now, there also was the bum of the month. I've heard many people bring that up in this era. But believe you me, I'd much rather face the bums that Mike Tyson, that Roy Jones, that Lennox Lewis faced than those gritty, hard-nosed, back alley bums that Sonny Liston or Ray Robinson faced. All right? Because I know if Ralph K.O. Hooker, who's 40 and 20 or whatever, is a bum in that era, after Depression and war-stricken and stuff, big, larger families, people was hustling, it was more physical. It was just a more physical era as a whole. I would much rather fight a bum that Tyson faced than have to fight A dude who's scrapping for every penny. A dude that's tooth and nail that's trying to get in there and knock me. Even if he's not as well trained, I knew the dude was gonna be tough just because of the time period. So you had to give it your all. I'd rather face the bum of the month now than the bum of the month in 1960, 1970, 1950. All right, on to the next one. This day in boxing history, February 4th, 1979, Alexis Arguello, another great. He KOs Alfredo Escalera in Rimini, Italy, and he retains the WBC super featherweight title. Now, this gets on my nerves a lot, and it's not these boxers' fault, y'all. Well, until they start abusing the system, which some of them do now. But in antiquity, these two boxers of this fight, they would either have to make the featherweight weight class, which is 126 pounds, or the lightweight weight class, which is the next class up, which is 135 pounds. So you're either going to suck weight, drain yourself, take out a pint of blood or whatever to make weight, then put it back in you after you make the weight to go at 126, or you're either going to man up, train harder, power up, get your chin up, and let's get ready to take on those 9 pounds and go to 135 pounds. All right? It's featherweight, then it's lightweight. There's no super junior, not originally, not according to the original 8 weight classes. And that's a whole nother topic. But this is not to slight the great Alexis Arguello. I'm just frustrated with the state of boxing. And those prior statements are really meant for the boxing fans, of course the fighters, the Rudy Poo snake handlers, the managers, and those fake sanctioning bodies alike. Now, Mr. Arguello, his alias was El Flaco Explosivo, which translates to the explosive thin man. He's from Nicaragua, y'all. Born and raised in Nicaragua, and I'm not sure if he passed away there, but he's from Nicaragua. His record stands at 77 wins, 8 losses, no draws. Now, out of those 77 wins, 62 of them are by KO, hence the title Explosivo. That kill percentage, I can't remember what it was, but it's between 70 and 75%. So the dude was explosive, kind of like a Thomas Hearns. He came in there, long, thin, lightweight dude, and was able to knock dudes' faces all around, had you looking up at the lights. Now, on his resume, he had classic battles. He's most known for his classic battles with Aaron the Hawk Pryor. And they had 2 monumental fights, and I watched both of the fights a few times. And man, them jokers had guts of gold and steel, because just the way they were fighting, they were in there trying to annihilate one another, trying to impose the other one's will and depose the other one's greatness. They both were great. Just classic brawls. Y'all watch those. I think the first one ended in the 13th round. They were just going tit for tat, just bashing each other's head in. Who else is on Arguello's resume? Right here we have, we got y'all boy Kevin Rooney, y'all. Kevin Rooney Sr. He later went on to help teach and train Mike Tyson, by the way. But this trips me out. These dudes who are half decent, I might even reach out and say half good fighters, such as Freddie Roach and Kevin Rooney, who were both professionals. They went on to train some of the best fighters of this generation, such as Mike Tyson, Manny Pacquiao, and other fighters. I was going to say Amir Khan, but anyway, and other fighters. And also in their defense, I do believe that they fought in way tougher era, which was only the 80s, 70s, late 70s, 80s. Who else is on Arguello's resume? All right, he KO'd your homie Ray Boom Boom Mancini. And at that time, when he fought Boom Boom Mancini was undefeated. Who else Arguello fought? Jose Ramirez, Ruben Castillo, Ruben Olivares. And this is why his fight with Pryor was so great and monumental. He too, Pryor, was knocking out most of the dudes that he fought. And they were real good fighters. And the fighters I just named, Arguello was knocking them out. Olivares, Castillo, Jose Ramirez, these dudes had extensive resumes with known tough fighters and fought other great fighters. And he was cleaning them up, swashbuckling them down and getting them out of there by KO. That's what the true great champs try to do. You're in there, you're boxing, you want to put on a good show. But at the end of the day, if he's still standing, he has the potential to knock you out. So, it's the hurt business, baby. You're trying to get guys out of there by any means necessary. Now, another reason why Alexis Arguello is looked upon as a legend is he's ranked by Ring Magazine as one of the top lightweights of the 20th century. And the most notable thing is he's ranked in the top 25, the top 25 greatest punchers of all time. The explosive thin man. All right. Now, Arguello, he defended his title a few times. He moved up the weight ladder. So like many other great fighters did, he started off light, featherweight, and he moved up the weight ladder. Up, and up until the last weight class he fought in was the same one as prior. I can't remember if it was welterweight or lightweight at 140. But anywho, he went up in lightweight and he beat the UK, the British champ Jim Watts in the 15-round decision. And another cool thing about Mr. Arguello is he's only the sixth boxer to win world titles in 3 divisions. And he's only the second Latin one. The first Latin boxer to do this was Wilfred Benitez. Now, in antiquity, again, the original 8 weight classes, he probably only won in 2 weight classes, or possibly 3. I got to go back and look. But, since all the added weight classes, it says he won in 3. Now, when he tried to get his 4th championship, we all know that was against Aaron the Hawk Pryor. And they fought twice. And I respect the gumption of these older fighters to try to acquire belts. Not just, it wasn't just they were just trying to acquire belts in higher and lower weight classes. They were trying to fight the best at doing it. It was just standard. This shit here is standard. You fight the best. Like Ric Flair said, to be the man, you gotta beat the man. So if you're gonna go up and you the champion of the lower weight class, well, how does it look? You fighting a guy that's ranked 25th, or a guy that's not even the top 10, or a person who ain't the champ. If you already a champ, you go up to fight another champ. You chasing for legacy. You chasing for greatness. You chasing to be remembered, like your boy Achilles was in the movie Troy. You want to be remembered for all times. You want to be read about. Now, Arguello, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1992, and he's one of these champs, like many champions. This what trips me out about these champions. Why is it so hard for these old champions to let it go? Right now we have Holyfield, Roy Jones Jr., James Toney, he crossing over into MMA. Why won't they just let it go? I mean, they already have the legacy. Was the money scarce? What is it? How is it easy for Ortiz, or I almost said someone else, but I'm not even going to say their name, for them just to retire and not fight and not even cement their legacy yet? It's just different era. All right, another interesting fact about Arguello is he was real big on cats. He had a lot of cats. They said he even breeded them too. And I'm a big cat fan myself, so I like Arguello even more. And one of the good things that is noted about him is he had a long-lasting friendship with Aaron the Hawk Pryor, all the way up until his passing in 2009. And I love it when I see old boxers who were trying to kill each other in the ring. They can grow old and laugh and reminisce on good times. You see Sugar Ray Leonard talking with Roberto Duran, and they hug and they dap each other up and they do interviews together. You see, Mike with Evander. You saw Sugar Ray with Jake LaMotta. And, and of course you saw Aaron Pryor back in the 80s with Arguello. But RIP to the late great Alexis Arguello. We need more like you, bruh. We need more like you. Now, the man he fought was Alfred El Salcero Escalera. He was born in Puerto Rico. Okay, now they called him El Salsero because he was a big fan of salsa music. Probably in between fights, romancing the honeys or whatever, getting the salsa on. Now, he was born in 1952, and El Salsero Escalera is still alive. So if you see him down there in Puerto Rico, y'all, Puerto Rico, ho, y'all show your love, show your respect, get an autograph. He's one of the celebrities that are real big on signing autographs from what I read. And the reason why I point that out is because not a lot of celebrities are big on signing autographs. Some are, some ain't. Some people don't want to be bothered, some do. But anywho, El Salsero Escalero's record was 53, 14, and 3. Out of those 53 he won, 31 he won by KO. All right. Now, he also had the featherweight title, but he lost it to Arguello. Soon retired, not soon, but years later he retired in 1980, and he started doing professional wrestling in Puerto Rico. And if you can remember, a few other boxers did that too. Ali did it. He had that famous match with the famous exhibition match with the Japanese wrestler, and he had matches with other wrestlers for whatever reasons. I think maybe during the time his license was revoked, or maybe in between his career. He was such a big name, you could cross over into different fields. Who else did it? The Chuck Wepner did it. A lot of other boxers crossed over into wrestling. But Escalera, he came back again. Here we go with these older fighters. He came back after he did the wrestling thing, beat a few dudes. He was on a big tournament undercard called the Battle of the Champions. He avenged a few losses, lost a few times. But he finally retired when he found out that the doctors told him he was having eyesight problems. And he was fighting blind for the remainder of his few fights. So thank God, that finally made him stop fighting. You would think a wife or a sister or a child or a brother or a father, I don't know why they can't get it out the system. But Escalera's still alive, y'all. He owns a big farm in Puerto Rico. And he's one of these boxers that has a child, a son, that fights. His son fought recently, and he's in the rankings. His son's name is Alfredo Escalera Jr., and he's a boxer based out of Florida. All right, now before we get into children boxing, there's a note right here. Ring Magazine has the fight that he had with Arguello as one of the 100 greatest fights of all time. That's crazy. One of the 100 greatest fights of all time, Arguello versus Escalera, made it. And the fight that we're talking about that happened today, February 4th, is on there. Matter of fact, one of the fights was so gruesome, it was called the bloody battle of the Bayamon. Because in that fight, he was so savage. One person's eye got slapped shut. Somebody got a piece of their tooth chipped. There was a cut in the fight on someone's eye. They said it was blood all over the ring. Not all over like Mortal Kombat, but it was a very bloody and gory fight. Back in them times, they wasn't stopping no fight for nothing less than some type of chunk skin, something missing, something busted up real bad. But the bloody battle of the Bayamon, legendary fight. Now back to these children fighting. By the way, Escalera's son, Alfredo Escalera Jr., he's a cruiserweight. Well, light heavyweight, same difference. I don't know why they had all these weight classes. But he recently, if y'all can remember, he got KO'd by Latif Coyote maybe a year or two, maybe 3 years ago. And his record is 19-4-1. Now, is it me, or do the children of great fighters, when they take up, what their fathers did to become great, and when they take it up, is it me, or do they don't measure up as well? You remember on Frazier's son, he didn't do too well. Foreman's son, he didn't do too well. Spinks, either I can't remember if it was Leon or Michael's son, didn't do too well. Corey. Frazier's daughter, she didn't do too well. Pryor's son, he didn't look well at all last time I saw him. All of them get wrecked. The only child of a fighter I could think of that held up to the standard of their father's greatness might be Layla Ali. I would say Chavez Jr., but he ain't got there yet. And if anything, he's been catching a lot of breaks because he's Julio Cesar Chavez's son. All right, on to the next. This day in boxing history, February 4th, 1984, Donald Curry, y'all, one of the contemporary greats of that era, defeats Marlon Starling in Atlantic City to retain his WBA welterweight title. Donald Curry was called the Lone Star Cobra. We all know the Lone Star State. He was from Fort Worth, Texas. Fort Worth, Texas, y'all. And his record was 34-6-0. And he had a high KO percentage because he had, out of those 34 wins, he had 25 by KO. Now on his resume, you'll see a lot of very good or even great fighters at that time. You'll see Terry Norris, Michael Nunn, Mike McCallum, Lloyd Huntington, And by the way, he lost to all four of them by KO. I was 5 losses. I just got to note this: 4 of them were by KO. But he fought, four of the very good fighters at that time. But he did beat Marlon Starling twice, though. He beat Marlon Starling twice. He lost to Nunn and Harnigan and all them. And he also beat Milton McCroy. Now, looking at Curry's resume, this tripped me out. He got a lot of title shots after losses. And not regular losses either, but big losses. He got title shots after DQ wins. He got title. Maybe he was real popular. I really didn't follow him like that in the 80s. But looking at his resume, every other fight for him was a title fight. So he must have been a media darling or very popular, or maybe he had some connections on the inside. I don't know. Matter of fact, even the last fight of his career, now that I'm looking, was for a title. And he suffered a KO loss, but still, he stayed in a lot of title fights. So he was very relevant throughout the 80s and 90s. Now, I've never seen none of his fights live, at least not that I remember. Just a few on YouTube, VHS. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. If it wasn't for my uncles, the first fighters outside of the heavyweight division that I would have followed would have only been Whitaker, De La Hoya, and Pacquiao. And Whitaker and De La Hoya and Pacquiao are the only fighters that I've, outside of the heavyweight division, that I've took upon to follow and study myself. Now, those are the only ones I began watching and following on my own accord. But because of my uncles, I got watched the classic bouts with Leonard, Hagler, Duran, Sugar Ray Robinson. Of course, not live Sugar Ray Robinson, but I got to see his, ESPN classics and VHS stuff. Julio Cesar Chavez, because my uncles were interested in it and they loved it. They made me watch it with them. So, of course, I got to watch fighters outside of heavyweight weight class, before Whitaker and De La Hoya came on, because I chose them on my own. The other ones, I just watched them because my uncles were watching them. Now the hair, y'all, check out the hair. I'm so glad my mama never forced me to wear the shag or the rat tail or the curl. Because, man, because, I don't know about where y'all from, but down here, the rat tail and the little S curl, the activator curl, I know it's big everywhere, but it was real big down here in the South. Y'all, I used to know dudes, for real. I used to know dudes, we be playing out in the park or we be playing in the woods, and they would tell us how that if they was to cut their shag or cut their rat tail or cut their curl, their parents, their grandma or whatever would cut their butt, would give them a whooping if they was to mess up their curl or their shag. I'm so glad, parents. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad, that you never made me wear the activator. You never made me wear the S-curl 80s drip stuff. You never made me do that. And we would play with these dudes, and we would be sweating, in the dirt and playing King of the Hill, and the chemicals would get in their eye, and their moms would holler at them and cuss them out because they see that they've been sweating, and they'd have leaves in their curl or dirt and all type of stuff in their shags. Well, anyway, Mr. Curry, he's 53 years old now, and if y'all see him down there in Fort Worth, Texas, y'all show him some love. That man constantly put his life on the line, longing to get paid, but to entertain us and cement a decent legacy while doing it. Okay? Now, he fought a lot at 154 again. A newer weight class, and opposed to, boxing in its ancient origin or in its beginning origins, as I guess after the Queensberry rules or whatever. Beginning origins is as a group, organized. With 154, there was never a 154 back in the day. It was 160. That was the original and true middleweight. So, again, with you, Curry, which one is it going to be? You going to be welterweight at 147? Or you just going to boss up and go to 160? Now, I know it's already happened, and I'm not mad. I'm not talking trash about him, but I'm just trying to get a point across. You got to be disciplined and extremely focused, y'all, to be able to cement yourself in a weight class. Or you just got to bulk up and get your skill up and power up and grow some heart and take on them big banging middleweight Bamas. You see what I'm saying? So right now, from 147, you can go to 140, you can go to 154, go to 160. Then there's 3 or 4 weight classes between 160 and heavyweight, which I'm not mad at. I think there should be 1, but not 2, 3, and 4, y'all. Not that many. But we'll get on that in another video. At the end of Curry's career, he had child support troubles. He was constantly jailed because of late and failed payments. And I just don't understand how you could jail a man because of that. Now, how the hell are you going to pay child support when you in jail? How are you going to get up the funds and the money if I am late, miss, wife, baby mother, whatever? How am I going to pay if I'm in jail? But that's another topic in itself as well. Curry looks good. I hope he's doing well. And I hope he's up there training some young champs. Next, in this day in boxing history, February 4th, 1989, Marlon Starling KOs Lloyd Honeyghan in Las Vegas, y'all. And he wins the welterweight title. Now, before I even start, see, now let's look at the triangle theory here. Honeyghan KO'd Curry. Curry beat Marlon Starling twice, by decision, by the way. Marlon Starling KO'd Honeyghan. See what I'm saying? But we already know this. We know the styles make fights. And the C guy can beat the A guy, even though he lost to the B guy, and the A guy beat the B guy, opposed to him losing to the B guy. So that's why the only true way, like 78 was saying, that we know that you're great or who can really win is if the A guy fights the C guy, B guy fights the C guy, A guy fights the B guy. All of them got to mix it up. And I'm so proud, I'm so glad that these dudes did that. Now, we'll never know with certain issues going on today how great these jokers can be unless they get in the ring and fight each other. We don't care if y'all both beat the same guy. Can y'all beat one another? We don't care if one guy knocked out one dude and you lost to a decision from one dude and y'all still got skill. Styles make fights. Anywho, but what Ronald Jenkins said in that one video that I love, by the way, real men do real things. Y'all check that out. You got to get in the ring and prove it. You know, real men do real shit. And I love that video. If you do what the hell what you're supposed to do, you know what I'm saying? Had you been doing what you were supposed to be doing, you wouldn't have nothing to worry about. All right? Nothing. You won't have to worry about nobody saying anything, nobody questioning you. Your legacy, your greatness, all that will be for show. Will be proven. You show and prove. The proof is in the pudding. Now, if we had some fighters like Starling, y'all, you know, in this era in the welterweight, I think we'd be much better off. But anywho, look at this picture. 50 Cent trying to ease his way into the boxing game. Look at him. Talking to Marlon Starling. And he's somebody that needs somebody like Starling up under his fighting boxing promotion label. Shoot. But I guess it's smart on 50 Cent's part. You know, smile, shake a few hands, throw a few bucks around, try to get his boxing promotions up. But hey, I guess the Floyd Mayweather route wasn't good for him. But boxing cards, another thing I want to talk about. Check this out, y'all. Now, I never collected boxing cards as an adolescent, as a teen or whatever, but I was more into football and baseball cards. Them Fleer Ultra cards. And then in the 90s, I got real big on X-Men cards. All right. Now, Marlon Starling, the Magic Man, he was the Magic Man way before Paulie Malignaggi. His record stands at 45 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw. And out of those 45 wins, 27 by KO. He had a little bit above 50% knockout ratio. And out of his 6 losses, he made out there alive. Out of his 6 losses, all of them were by decision. None of them by KO. And he fought a whole slew of top fighters of his era. I mean, he fought Mark Breland. He fought Nunn. He fought Curry and so on. Hell, he even beat Floyd Mayweather Sr. And another interesting thing about him is he went 25-0 before his first ever loss, which was to Donald Curry. He was a 2-time world champ. He was born in 1959. And he should be about 55, 56 years old by now. Ooh. And that's another thing. I was looking up these fights. Man, let me tell you, these jokers, they knew how to use their heads. When I looked at their fights and their bouts, a lot of their bouts collectively, Honeyghan, Starling, Curry, Norris, McCallum, all them, a lot of them ended with TDs or DQs. TDs, a technical decision, a clash of heads, and someone got cut, and enough rounds haven't gone through. You gotta make a technical decision, and a lot of them were by DQs due to headbutts. I read the caption. A lot of their fights that all these cats had collectively due to headbutts. And if you're learning the sweet science, y'all, boxing in its earnest, boxing in its true form, and if you have a good teacher and a good trainer, your head is used as a weapon. All right, your head as well as your bows when you're throwing punches. Those great teachers, those great trainers and masters, they actually will show you how to throw and follow through with your bow, your elbow, y'all. It's not only for technique, but it's for form, it's for beauty of the art, but also because on the savage end, bows cut faces. They cut faces real well, and if you miss with the punch, a bow can knock a mofo out, especially if it connects on the right place. Now, I know it's brutal, but remember, this is the hurt business. You know, Evander Holyfield was real good at using his head. He came in with his head, missed the punch. Tim Bradley, he's real good at doing it. He knows how to mask it well. But y'all check him out. Check out Starlin if you're up there in Yukon territory, Hartford. He's living there now. Now, the next man we're going to talk about is, pardon me, I had to get some water. The next man we're going to talk about is the man that Starlin fought in this day in history, and his name is Lloyd Honeyghan, aka the Ragamuffin Man. He was born in 1960. He was born in St. Elizabeth, Jamaica, and his hometown is in London. He's a Brit, y'all. He's a Briton from the UK. Big ups to the UK. Boxing over there is you know, has a deep, rich history as well. He's orthodox, and his record stood at 43-5-0. 43 wins, 5 losses, and all those 43 wins, 30 of them by KO. So his knockout percentage was somewhere in the 60s. Here we go, 62.5% of knocking your behind out. And on the resume, he fought Vinny Paz, Marlon Starlin, Mark Breland, Donald Curry, Maurice Blocker. He then changed his, he used to be a boxer puncher, sort of like Keith Thurman. And then for whatever reasons, maybe for viewings, maybe for, you know, popularity, fame, or maybe he just said, forget about it, I'm just going to go all out. In the middle of his career, kind of like how Broner did, but not to his betterment, he changed his style. Mr. Honeyghan, changed his style to an all-out slugger. All right, and I'm gonna read a story I got directly from Wikipedia. It says here that in his first defense, he dominated and floored his opponent in the first round, and he caused controversy by racing across the ring, y'all, running across the ring, wild and shit, and by hitting his opponent, which was the former world junior welterweight champ Johnny Bumpus. And as soon as the bell sounded at the end of the second round, so he ran over and hit his opponent. It's right before the bell sounded for the start of the second round. Now, Bumpus was given time to recover, but the fight, it says here, had already been knocked out of him, and he didn't last much longer. Of course, he lost by KO. Bumpus did. And in Honeyghan's second defense of the title, he beat the unbeaten future world champion at the time, Maurice Blocker, on points. Now, it says that he became a crowd pleaser with his all-out action style, all right? And he has some type of record where in a world title fight, one of the fastest KOs in the world title fight, 40 seconds, here we go, 40 seconds of welterweight champion Gene Hatcher. Now, Mr. Honeyghan finished his career with winning the welterweight champion twice. He lost his title to Jorge Vaca in 1987. You know, Clash of Heads, something like that. And he was trying to be the, he became, Lloyd Honeyghan became the second British boxer in history to regain a world title in a return bout. You know, I only know one off the top of the head, and that's on Randy Turpin that attempted it. And maybe he did get it. I'm not sure. I got to double check that. But the first British fighter to do that was Ted Kid Lewis earlier in the 20th century. Now, Honeyghan, it has a lot of stuff about him being controversial. There's a story here about how when there was a fight in apartheid South Africa during that time, and Honeyghan disagreed with fighting there, so he took his WBA welterweight strap and threw it in the damn trash can, like how Riddick Bowe did when they asked him to fight Lennox Lewis. He held the belt up on national TV and threw them things in the trash can. That'll let you know that he wasn't trying to see no parts. But Honeygun did it more as a, I guess, as a political thing, a political move. So that's how that went with that. Now, ragamuffin. Now, I never really understood what ragamuffin meant. Maybe y'all can help me out. My Brit people, my London brothers, y'all help me out with what ragamuffin means. Y'all pardon me for making the video so long, but hey, just trying to bring y'all some decent information, and we're just trying to get it done. So on to the last few things that I'm going to report about in boxing history. We love boxing. On February 4th, we're going to start back up where we was. Honeygun, the ragamuffin. And the dude was hell now. Dude was hell. But have y'all noticed one thing about how fighters, a lot of them, not all, gain a considerable amount of weight after their career is over? Well, then again, you know, I used to be ex-combatant, ex-warrior, ex-fighter myself. I gained some weight. And I guess, you know, after years of cutting weight and doing all type of crazy stuff to your body, training crazy, after you stop, I guess you just blow up like a fat cat. And to comment again on that, I'd much rather gain a whole bunch of weight than lose sight in one eye or be physically or mentally impaired. You can see here, you know, Honeygun, he can gain a considerable amount of weight. Or I'd much rather stunt my growth or just, you know, get fat and low overweight than suffer the illnesses like how the great legendary Ali once suffered. But hey, brothers like him, he took those bouts, and in a crazy, funky way, he took all that punishment for you and me, for us. He sacrificed his health for the cause, for his family, for his fans, for history. He laid it out there, and his greatness supersedes boxing. And brothers like Ali, he'll always go down as a legend, as one of the greatest ever. Now, Honeygun, right here, he looks happy, and in his recent pics, he looks extra healthy. Y'all check him out. He got a nice little get up too. By the way, I need some of them UK pounds, y'all. Them UK dollars. I know one UK dollar or pound is maybe 2 American USD dollars. I'm not positive, but I know it's more than the currency here. Now, at the moment, Mr. Lloyd Honeygun, he speaks on the after dinner circuit and can be found ringside at major shows in London. Now, back to this ragamuffin thing, I had to go and look it up because I'm not too familiar with the definition. But here it says, I went to slang and a regular dictionary. It said a poorly clothed, often dirty child. And then the slang, of course, online, it says, quote, a woman sleeping with man behind girlfriend's back. Where's your ragamuffin, bitch? End quote. And then, of course, back to the regular dictionary, it says coarse, rough in manner, rough in speech, unsophisticated. Shabba Ranks is famous for his reggae called Ragamuffin Reggae. Ragamuffin, untidy person. So one of my good mates from across the big pond, y'all give me a better definition on how y'all use it. I know Honeygun was wild by his career, but is he also a ragamuffin? All right. Next, in this day in boxing history, February 4th, Mark Breland KOs Sung Soon Lee, or Lee Sung Soon, in Las Vegas, and he gets the vacant WBA welterweight title. Now, a little bit about Mark Breland, y'all. He was an Olympic and world champion. He was one of the people from that legendary 1984 Olympic team. The greatest, stats-wise, the greatest boxing Olympic team that America's ever had. Who was on TNC? Meldrick Taylor, Mark Breland, Tyrell Biggs, Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, Evander Holyfield, Jerry Page, Virgil Hill, Frank Tate. Now, this Olympic team composed, altogether, they collected 9 gold medals, a silver, and a bronze. No other Olympic team for America has accomplished that great feat. All right, so he came from a superb team. You can only expect that he would be superb in his career. Now, about his amateur status, y'all, Mark Breland's amateur record is remarkable. It's 110-1. All right. 5 times Golden Glove champion. He won the amateur welterweight championship in '82. He won the gold at the World Championships in Munich in '82. And then he won gold at the Summer Olympiad. Now, as a professional, he turned professional. He turned pro in 1984. And he won the vacant WBA title against Sung Lee in this day in history. And then he lost it in his first defense to Marlon Starling. I love the way how these cats was mixing it up. That's how it should be. Now, we got to bring that back, especially not only for just the fans, but and for the excitement of sports, baby. But, he went back and forth with his career. He didn't stay in too long, but nonetheless, he had a great career. He retired in 1997 with the record of 35-3-1 with 25 KOs. These dudes, Breland and them, Honeygun, Curry, Norris, Nunn, they was getting cats to flush up out of there. When I looked at their total combined KO percentage, they all span from 50 to 75% KO. All right, now Mark Breland is currently a boxing trainer, y'all. He's trained Vernon Forrest, and now he's training the WBC world champion Deontay Wilder, among notable boxers. I'm sure he's trained plenty more, but the two most notable are Vernon Forrest and Deontay Bomb Squad Bronze Bomber Wilder. Now, I wasn't aware of what Beats was discussing, what issue was going on, and really I don't want to be a part of it. But he was talking about, someone didn't give Mark Breland his credit, and then I saw an article saying Deontay Wilder should can Mark Breland, and I say, man, hell nah, you'd be crazy to get rid of a coach with that much expertise, that much experience, and with champions on his resume. I mean, including Deontay Wilder. Now he has another world champion under him. He has another world champion at his gym, and it just adds not only to his legacy but to the dudes he's training. Now, granted, he's no Emmanuel Stewart. Emmanuel Stewart was known. Angelo Dundee was known for training and bringing up great heavyweights, and I'm sure other trainers. But those are the two off the top of the head. But Mark Breland's doing his thing, and the proof is in the pudding. Obviously, he's doing something grand. Now, the guy he beat, peace to Han Gook, Annyeonghaseyo, was Lee Sung-soon, another welterweight from South Korea. His record, which was surprising when I looked at it, was 31-4. And out of his 31 wins, 23 were by KO. So he was cleaning cats up off the mat too. He was mopping them up too. And I just attribute this to my ignorance. I don't really see a lot of Korean, per se, fighters or Chinese, a few Japanese, but really Korean, Chinese fighters that have KO power like that. Educate me if there are some, y'all. Now, Mr. Lee, he had the South Korean welterweight title, and he fought each and every one of his fights in South Korea, except for two. This is what I'm talking about earlier with the exposure. Now, he went to Cali to fight Sergio Sanchez, and he KO'd him. Then he went to Vegas. And, of course, he fought for the title in Vegas, but we'll get to that soon. He had the South Korean title, welterweight title. Then he had the OPBF welterweight title. And I said, what the hell? I looked it up, and the last holder of the OPBF welterweight title was Yoshihiro Kamiga, who we just saw fight Guerrero. I should have looked up what it stood for, but I didn't. Yeah, y'all do that. But of course, his only real legitimate world title shot was the WBA welterweight title. The second fight that he fought out of South Korea, and that was in Vegas against Mark Breland. And unfortunately, he got KO'd in the first round. And after that, he retired. Lee Sung-soon, he beat all that ass of Korea. He even went to Cali and whooped an Hispanic dude's head. Then his first and legitimate and only world title shot, he got KO'd. Tragic. And he never bounced back from that. He went back home the same year. He fought once more, and then he lost a decision, and then he retired. But, best of luck to him. Now, we're going to end it out with the last 4 things. February 4th, 1999, the first ever boxer champion to be put on a Wheaties cereal box. The greatest, y'all, Muhammad Ali. February 4th, 99. He was the first ever boxer to be put on the Wheaties box, as the feature on the Wheaties box. Next, February 4th, 1952, Gil Turner out of Philadelphia Boxing Club, welterweight, beat Sammy Maestrin or Maestrin. Gil Turner is not really known a lot, but he did get a world title shot against Kid Gavilan when Kid Gavilan had the welterweight title. But at the time of this date in history, when he beat Sammy Maestrin, Gil Turner was 28-0 with 23 KOs, so he was up and coming. Dude was bad. He's from Philly. He's affiliate on Philadelphia Boxing Club. Big ups to Philly Boxing School. And his record stood at 56 wins, 19 losses, and 2 draws. He passed away at 65 years old in 1996. Rest in peace. Now, on Mr. Turner's resume, he fought the likes of Adele Flanagan, who was 105, 22, and 2. Ralph Dupas, who was 106, 23, and 6. And Kid Gavilan, 108, 30, and 5. He also fought Carmen Basilio, the tough Mormon cat Gene Fulmer, and he even fought a cat named Yama Bahama, who was 77, 14, and 3. Now, on the birthdays, y'all, that's how we're going to end it out. Big shout outs to Patrick Healy. Patrick Healy, he's an Irishman. He came over as Patrick Healy. And then, of course, he changed his name for whatever, insemination, whatever, business reasons. He changed it to Patrick Healy. And the few things they said about him, they said he's one of those great bar fighters. Not actually fought in a bar where he probably did, but they said he would train, and in between his training, he would drink a lot of beer, stayed in the bar. Even after he retired, they said he was a big bar rat. So he was in the bar a lot, getting the sip on, I guess probably as a tonic to take away from all the pain and stuff in the ring. But Pat Healy was born today, big ups, February 4th, and his boxing record stood as 85 wins, 44 losses, 10 draws. And those 85 wins, 31 was by KO. And here we go with the NWS. His newspaper decisions was he won 3, lost 2, had 1 draw. And we're going to end it out, y'all, with one of my favorite boxers of all time. I love boxing. Oscar, the golden boy De La Hoya. I love Oscar. I love De La Hoya. I mean, he's one of the greatest, not only of this era, but to me, of all time. Now, I won't put him in no top 10 or top 20, not even top 25, but I might put him in top 30. But he's definitely in my top 50. Today's Oscar De La Hoya's birthday, y'all. February 4th. He was born in 1973. If you see him, if you got his, if you got his tweets, if you got his profile, hit him up, give him a shout out. And I love boxing because of De La Hoya. He was one of the first big fighters that I followed outside of heavyweight. And I wish he would have fought longer, but hell, he fought all the best. And he made it his business. This is one thing, he made it his business to seek out the best. All right? So I don't know where this new stuff come from, because he just retired in 07, 08? Oscar De La Hoya's resume, like many have said it before, is one of the most extravagant, one of the toughest resumes. I mean, from Whitaker to Chavez Sr. to Casamayor to you name it, Mayweather, B-Hop. And he's one of those dudes that was going up in weight to challenge these bigger fighters. He was trying to make catch weights. He did it all. He broke the records at that time for pay-per-views. And that's why his name's the Golden Boy. That's why he has that brand. Like how Michael Jordan, his airness has the Nike. We flocked to Michael Jordan because his brand, we knew he took on the best. He always gave his best. Anyway, the video's too long, y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed it. This day in boxing history, February 4th. I love boxing. We love boxing. Y'all have a beautiful day. Peace.